So, you want to write a best-selling novel. Well, if you've ever read Lessons in Chemistry or The Hunger Games, and you have this very unique idea for a book that you're ready to get out of your head and onto your page, then let's discuss how to write a best-selling novel. Hi, I'm Charlotte, your book BFF, which is your developmental editor and book coach, and I'm here to help aspiring and baby authors get their ideas onto paper with greater ease and less self-doubt. When you're first thinking about your idea for a novel, or if you're trying to come up with ideas, one of the best places is actually just to observe real life situations. One of the things I know a lot of writers, and I do this myself, is I'm often carrying around a notepad or using a notes app in my phone. And I'm always gleaning little pieces of conversation for people or observing situations or describing the scenery around me. So many novels are mostly loosely based off of real life situations. I know that Stephen King has talked a lot about drawing inspiration from real life events, specifically for his novel Misery, which was inspired by a real life fan encounter. Same with a lot of the antidotes and everyday situations that made The Devil Wears Prada come to be were also observations from real life. And so what I want you to do is just start to think about what is interesting to you in life. What are the little details that you notice that maybe other people don't notice? And start to write those down and just let them be. You don't have to do anything with them right away, but just start to notice, what are the things that you pick up on, or what's really comical, or what's certain things that maybe in the workplace or within relationships that are constantly coming up, or themes or different things that you're experiencing. Just start by taking notes and getting in the habit of being an observer. So another way to kind of think about how to get an idea for fiction writing is to start to ask what-if questions. So if in your observations you have a few things that have maybe piqued your interest, or maybe there's a character that's starting to come to mind, I want you to start asking some questions. So let's say that you do have a character coming to mind. So start asking, what if this character was new to a town? How do they learn to navigate that new town? What if this character had a troubled background? What if this character has an interaction that completely makes them question everything they've ever known in life? This can be the same for any of the observations that you wrote down that were interesting to you. And you could start asking, what if this happened next? Or what if this happened in the workplace? Or what if this happened in the relationship? Or what if this was said? And just start to have fun, play with it, see where that leads. There's so many books that have, again, been created by just getting curious and leaning into what interests you and just kind of following that lead of what is bringing you joy, what is sparking interest, what is sparking creativity, what is kind of giving you that feeling of ooh, I want to explore this more. So another thing to do is learn a lot about different genres. So this is something where you can make Google your best friend and learn more about the different fiction genres. So this could be anything from sci-fi to romance to women's fiction to YA to cozy mysteries, and really understanding what is it that readers love about these novels and what are some of the character arcs and the plot structures that people have come to expect. So I always like to use romance novels as an example. So the love interests at the end are going to end up together. Can you imagine reading a romance where you have gone through almost 300 pages of these two people who are come together and they've been flirting and they've crossing paths, maybe they've kissed, and then all of a sudden they just poof, disappear and they don't end up together at the end? Oh my God, that's so disappointing. Not only is that disappointing in real life, but also very disappointing when we're reading novels. So start getting curious about the different genres. And this again might start to spark some ideas for you. And maybe you do like the idea of a romance, but it's not necessarily the central story of your book. And so you can start to look at other genres and see how they have woven in romance as a subplot versus the main plot. So start to just get a little bit curious about what different genres are out there, and you can learn so much just from Googling and understanding kind of what are people expecting, because again, we do want to read or write to the reader so that they do understand that if they're only reading cozy mysteries, then there's definitely a certain aspect to that story that they're going to want to see. But I always like to tell authors you don't have to immediately define your genre, especially when you're starting to play with ideas. You don't want to necessarily feel like you're forcing your idea into a box. You can allow it to evolve over time. I just think there can be a lot of power of understanding the genres that can also inspire you as you're formulating an idea. Because you might have just like the seed of an idea and then you read about sci-fi and you're like, oh my God, what if this did take place in this dystopian world, right? So there's different things that can inspire you as you're learning about different genres. But again, if you're just trying to figure out an idea, don't feel like you have to be kind of boxed in by a genre immediately. It's just more important to get the story out. So something else to play around with as you're trying to formulate an idea for fiction writing is to use different writing prompts and exercises. This can be just a great way of getting in the habit of writing and just getting those creative juices flowing. So here's a writing prompt for you to play with if this feels right for you. So what unexpected event turns your main character's world upside down? And what is the ultimate transformation they undergo in order to get what they want? Ooh. So another way to get your idea for fiction is just to do some free writing. Just allow yourself, without any agenda, just to write and just see kind of what magic can come out of that. So this could be thinking, again, going back to some of your what if questions. It could be writing those out. It could be using writing prompts. And it could just allow yourself just to think of all the different possibilities and let them all come out. And again, without judgment or feeling like you have to pick something specific, just go ahead and just get into the habit of doing free writing. Not only starts to build your writing muscle so that when you have that idea, it'll be easier to sit down and write. But it's also, again, you don't know what's going to potentially come up and wants to be shown to you through free writing. So to wrap up this video, I just want to invite you to allow your ideas to expand and flow and to get them out of your head and onto paper. And you don't have to judge or use or select anything from there, but just continue to get curious. And as you continue to get curious about certain things, it's going to lead to the next and the next. And before you know it, you're going to have a full-blown idea that you're ready to outline for your book. There is a lot of often throwing things at the wall and seeing if the spaghetti sticks to see if it's cooked. And so that's the same what we're doing with our writing, is to really get into the habit of like, how do we want this to come together? And are you going to be energized to write an entire 90,000 words around that topic? So don't put too much pressure on yourself if you really do want to come up with an idea. Again, go back through, kind of start observing life, get curious, ask what if questions, explore different genres, and it will come together for you when it feels right. So if you have questions, please leave them below in the comments. If you have any other ideas that has worked for you as you're coming up with fiction writing, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. And then be sure to subscribe and like this video.